All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Age of Distraction gaming stream. I am your host, Ron. It is 3:16 a.m. here in Nashville, Tennessee, Central Standard Time. We're gonna do a little impromptu Division Two stream, and I think we're gonna be doing some control points. So it's just me solo here tonight. Maybe we can get some other people in to play with us and help us out. We'll see how that goes. But so tonight's kind of a weird night. I've been playing. I actually had a very engaging and entertaining and mind-bending, if you will, Division 2 session earlier. One of the things that I truly love about this game is teaming up with people and having random conversations. I find the most random people on this game, and we have the most random of conversations, and it's very entertaining. And I mean, if anybody is familiar with the stream, we've had tons of random people play and talk to us on stream, and we always end up having very nuanced and interesting and random conversations, and sometimes arguments. A lot of times arguments, especially with Donte and I. When we play together, we seem to really disagree on a lot of stuff. But it's it's all playful. It's all good fun. It's not, and both of us are just expressing what we truly feel and believe. I think that's why it's interesting. But anyway, so I was playing with him earlier, and there was before he joined, there was a woman named, she went by Wolf. And Wolf, she was a great player. I think her level was 4,700 or something. But she was a really good player, and we played and we talked a lot. We had a very lengthy, very funny, intelligent conversation. So Donte comes on, and we join Donte. Donte joins the game, and I want to get my details 100% correct here. So if I pause or if I'm going slowly, just know that I'm trying my best to recollect verbatim, exactly what happened and the sequence of events, and without embellishment and all that. Okay, so I was playing with Donte. I was playing with this girl, Wolf. And Donte joined the stream. I wasn't streaming, sorry. I wish I was streaming. This would have been an entertaining stream. But I wasn't streaming it, I was just playing. So we have Wolf, and then Donte, who y'all are all familiar with from the streams. He came on, and Donte has a 1-year-old daughter. This woman Wolf, she had a couple of sons, 9 and 15, I think. And they were talking about parenthood. Well, wait. let's pump the brakes a little bit and go put it in reverse and go back a little bit. So before that conversation, again, y'all know how random these conversations get. Like, we just end up on topics and it's not planned out. We're just riffing. But so somehow we started to discuss how well a poly relationship might work. But not necessarily just poly relationship. Like, okay, so this was where I was coming from with it. It really wasn't even opinion that I was stating in regards to this topic. I was speaking from experience. I've had 2 different relationships in where at some point or another in those relationships we started to allow each other to experiment with people outside the relationship, right? Only sexually, not romantically or anything, just sex. And so, I told them that, and they were both under the very strong, unwavering opinion that a poly relationship or a relationship in where the 2 people allow the other party to play around sexually with others, it's impossible and it can never work. That was their opinion. And I vehemently had to disagree because I've been in at least 2 situations like this in where it actually improved the nature of our relationship. It truly did. And I was trying to explain that and trying to explain kind of the dynamics of those relationships and how after a lot of conversation and after a lot of trust, in the other person, like, we were able to have a successful relationship that was loving and romantic and all that, and sexual, while having sexual partners outside of the relationship. And so I expressed this, and particularly Donte just kept saying, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, fine. So at some point we go from that topic to, I guess they were talking about their kids. And, oh yeah, okay, so the wolf girl said she had 2 sons, and Donte has a daughter, and she was saying, I'm so glad I didn't have a daughter. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? And she proceeded to explain that her and Donte started to kind of simultaneously explain that there's like a whole list of worries and concerns that one would have for their daughter that they may not with a son. Which made sense to me. All the things that they were listing off. I get it. I certainly get it. But then the conversation started to kind of move to, they were sort of validating their worries through a sort of condemnation of the world at large, and how violent it is, and how dangerous it may possibly be for a woman or a girl. I had no point to go against that. I agree. But I started to think kind of on my own as they talked. Is it safer now than say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago? I mean, you remember the 1970s was the decade of the serial killer. You had the Green River Killer, you had Gacy, you had Bundy, you had the Golden State Killer, you had, California was littered with them. The Night Stalker, all up and down Northern California, Southern California. Like, that whole state was terrorized by a huge number of these serial rapists. And this was before DNA, obviously. This is also the era of the hitchhiker. There were factors environmental in nature that made it easy for serial killers or serial rapists or whatever the case may be to operate without detection. You don't really hear about serial killers anymore. It's not, with DNA and with the innovations in forensic arts, if you will, it's very difficult for people to get away with stuff now. So I just made sort of a, I wasn't really thinking about it too much, but I just sort of made like a off the cuff sort of comment. Comment being, well, isn't it safer than it's ever been now? Which incited a very emotional and at the time I felt sort of judgmental points of view about how, like, I'm 100% wrong on that. So as sort of a defense against what I was saying, that it's safer now, Wolf started telling the story about a boy going into a bathroom at a restaurant. And two boys go into the bathroom. Okay, brothers. And one comes out, and the father says, "Where's your brother?" And the son says, he's still in the bathroom with that strange man. And then the father rushes to the bathroom, and by that time, he's gone. He's been abducted. So she tells this story, and I'm assuming it's a true story, as sort of proof that I'm incorrect, and proof that the world right now at large is filled with murderous, kidnapping pedophiles, and therefore I should consider those and reconsider my statement that the world is a safer place now. Okay, so then it's Donte's turn. Donte starts talking about human traffic victims, and discussing them in great detail, like, the circumstances and the crimes committed against them, and when I said that the world seems to be a safer place now, it certainly did not mean crime has ceased to exist. Like, that would be a foolish statement. Like, of course, I know, we all know that crime still exists. Of course, kidnappings happen, human trafficking happens, cartel violence, robberies, homicides, burglaries, breaking and enterings, assault, on and on. yes, these, as long as human beings stomp their feet upon the grass of God's green creation, we will always have to deal with violence, and perversion, and kidnapping, and yes, like all these things, whatever that mechanism is in humanity that makes the strong want to prey on the vulnerable, you know, that mechanism is always going to be intact. You know, no matter the sort of overall nature of crime and violence, you know, in the world. It would be silly to think that there would ever be a day where these things wouldn't exist, right? But, you know, so they keep going on with like different examples, and like each example was just becoming more and more like sad and depressing, and like, you know, like, and so I conceded. I said, look, I'm wrong. Fine, I'm wrong, and like, I was hoping that in that concession, maybe we could change the subject, you know, because frankly, I'm sick of sitting here hearing about kids getting abducted and sex traffic victims. Like, I tend to see the world in a very sort of like with rose-colored glasses. You know, I try to focus on the beauty in existence, in the world, in life. Like, I have a constant hunger and desire to be inspired, to be blown away by the beautiful colors of the universe, of the world, the lushness of it. All these beautiful harmonies and melodies and green grass and green trees and flowers. It's
Are you on the phone?
Even things that are... Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, man?
Are you on the phone?
No, I'm streaming.
Oh.
What's going on?
Oh, you're talking to your viewers?
Well, no viewers. Talking to myself. Yeah, talking to myself pretty much. I think we did have like one chatter that was on for like a minute. But, you know, as you know, this stream is very minimal. We've got like 7 subscribers. I think one of them's you.
Yeah.
We don't have any clout, man. But, you know, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
That is true.
I just, you know, it's just fun, man. I mean, it's just, I'm not really, I don't have any sort of like aspirations for it, or goals to hit, or metrics to catch, or it's just fun. Like, I think, and like, you know, playing this game and like getting paired up with random people and like playing and having interesting conversations, it's entertaining, it's fun.
I agree with that.
So that's all I'm really doing, you know, to 0 viewers. Oh shit. But anyway, so I was kind of explaining like the situation earlier. Are trying to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a go at explaining it?
What, to the stream?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've already been talking about it, so.
there's a lot. I don't know where to begin.
I mean, just whatever your interpretation of whatever the, you know. I mean, where I started was, like in my explanation of it, I started like we were talking about, like if a poly type relationship could be successful, right? Like that was sort of the first
Hostile control point detected.
point of discussion amongst like us three.
No, I really don't know. Maybe we had a conversation. Things weren't fully interpreted from everybody the same way.
Well, right,
We
but,
cleared that
but
up.
that's the end. That like go to like the beginning or like the middle. I mean, you're right.
Huh? You hiding under the blanket?
Oh, shit.
You hiding? Yeah. Eden, I see you.
But if I remember
I
correctly,
see you.
like that was the first like thing we were talking about.
I see you. I see you.
And I think it went from there to talking about like children. And
Yeah.
when you
Hi.
said that you had a
Hi.
daughter.
You said that I had a daughter.
Okay, well
You
maybe I did.
told Wolf that I had a daughter.
Okay. All right. So when I said you had a daughter, Wolf kind of made like this sigh and said, "Thank God I didn't
That's
have
rough.
a daughter."
Well, she said, I always wish I wanted a daughter. I always wish I had a daughter, but I'm kind of. Then she was like, ooh, good luck.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I understand.
Meaning she kind of
I
dodged
know
a bullet.
Yeah, and then you asked why she said that, and I was like, I clarified, I get it. It's because raising a daughter is harder than raising a son on most aspects, and you didn't understand that, so you asked to clarify that.
But it's not
and
that I
then
didn't
that's when we-
understand it. It's just I'm not a parent, so I don't
Hostiles.
have any frame
you-
of reference on like what would be harder or you know.
You keep going back into that parenting thing.
No.
It has nothing to do with being a parent. That's what I'm saying, Vanish.
But this particular thing in where we're talking about, is it more difficult to raise a girl or a boy? That's a question for a parent to answer, not some jerk off like me that
'Cause
doesn't have kids.
But not all parents have both a girl and a boy, so that's
course.
irrelevant.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you're a parent, because you don't have both a girl or a boy. It doesn't matter if you're a parent or not. The point is, how are you gonna raise? If you have a daughter, if you have a son, how are you gonna raise them? It has nothing to do with being a parent. You're looking at the wrong points here. You're looking too much into the details. It has nothing to do with being a parent at all. People can answer this question and never ever be a parent in their life.
Okay, yeah, I see that point. Me personally, I respect the opinion of someone like you who's a parent over my opinion in this.
I understand that.
So I mean, the two things aren't synonymous, right? Like I get what you're saying. There's a disconnect between these things.
But even with that, I can't
seeing.
I can't pinpoint the differences because I don't have a boy.
But you can speculate on what the differences might be.
But this is my point. It doesn't matter if you have kids or not. You can speculate if you do have kids. You see? You
Right.
just made the perfect comparison. That's exactly the same thing that you can do whether or not you have kids.
Friendly supply
So you can answer
in
the
proximity.
question just as well as I can answer the question. It's all based on your preference of how you look at it, what type of parent you would want to be. You know what I mean?
I would
What
like
type
to
of
think
like
my approach would be different with a boy, but I don't think it would be that much different.
how different are you talking? Like what differences
Well,
would you have?
okay, so just sort of like speaking in generalities and like sort of like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So typically people raise women to be
Stop.
sweet, caring, nurturing, to value certain
Get down.
right, like and with a boy it's more about raising a somebody that's going to be a man one day, you know, and teaching them sort of what
I get what
masculinity
you're saying.
like.
Yeah.
There's like two sorts of different languages of parenting that's going on. Just
But this is I'm asking you like as who you are. If you had kids, if you were aspiring to have a kid, what would you like? How would you raise your son if you had a son, and how would you raise your daughter if you had a daughter? Like, we're not talking about like the
No, I know.
generalizations.
I know.
Like, how would you do it? What
Right.
would
Well, I was
you
getting- I
try
was
to
getting
give them?
right. Okay, I was getting there. So I probably wouldn't do it quite like I would raise a daughter to be a strong woman that knows her worth and knows and has respect for herself and can take care of herself
Breach initiated.
and doesn't need a man for much anything. The things that people instill in boys that enable those boys to grow up to be strong men, like I would sort of utilize the same sort of things with a girl.
And what's that? Like, what would you teach her? Like, what would you tell her?
I just gave you a list of things like
Well, no,
how
you had it was general. You said you would want her to be those things, but how would you mold her into being those things? She won't just do it because you're saying, hey, I want you to be a strong woman,
of
and she's
course
gonna
not.
become that's the point. You're being generic. We're not
But
talking
I'm
generic.
not a
We're talking about your raising style. What would you do to make her strong? What would you do to make her
this
not
is a
depend
thought
on a man?
experiment. Like I'm not
Yes,
gonna sit
that's
here
what
on
I'm-
stream
that's what I'm
and write up a whole detailed line by line, topic by topic parenting plan. I didn't know that's what the assignment was.
Not deliberately, but give me some examples. Don't just say, hey, I'm gonna raise a daughter and she's gonna be a strong girl.
Look,
The
I
end.
said I would try to instill in her a sense of self-respect.
Yes, and it's such a hard question to ask. How do you plan? How
Of
would you
course.
plan on doing that? Okay.
It's not just one conversation that's gonna do that. It's constantly instilling that in her in several different ways. Consistently over the course of her childhood. Every day. Reminding her that she's strong, that she's beautiful, that she deserves everything that she fucking wants in life. That she deserves the best fucking guy there is available. Things that a lot of fucking women... No, wait. That a lot of women, they grow up and they don't fucking have any sense of those things. They end up with fucking scumbags that fucking beat the shit out of them, that fucking do all kinds of shit with them. Women that do not respect themselves. My mission.
And do you know why they get into that? Because of a lot of the things that you just said you would tell your daughter. That's why those girls turn into that. Because you're giving them false hope. You cannot tell a
How
girl
is that false
she's
hope?
gonna, because you cannot tell a girl. You're basically molding a girl and telling her that she's perfect.
No,
You
no, no,
can't
no, no.
do that.
No, no, no. I didn't say
Was the
anything about
example
perfect.
that's not what you said, but that was I'm explaining. That's the example that I got out of it.
Why
because
is
you
it
said,
wrong?
You said that you were gonna tell her that she deserves.
Of course.
She deserves the best. She deserves everything. Yeah, I agree with those parts. But
Does your daughter
Eden,
deserve
stop.
anything that her heart may desire her whole life? Don't you feel that way?
If she works for it, yes.
Of course.
It's not just gonna be handed to her, but that's what I'm saying.
Of course.
The way you made it seem is that you don't rely on no man. I understand that, but you was also given the impression that she doesn't need a man. I don't necessarily agree with that because see, I feel like everybody needs somebody. Maybe not a man, but you need somebody in your life. Nobody needs to do it alone. Help is good. That's the problem with a lot of women these days. They think they can do everything themselves. That's the problem. That's why they're alone. Because you can't do anything by yourself. It's not how the world works.
So
you need help.
I would
It's
want
good
a
to have
daughter
help.
that would grow up and be independent, to be like a career woman, to make money and be able to take care of herself. And in the event that she wants to be with a man, she makes goddamn sure that he comes with at least equal to the table.
I get that.
Not somebody with their fucking hand out.
That's so hard of an explanation. That's the explanation that I asked for, of more clarity of what you meant.
Right.
You understand?
So that's an example.
That's the perfect. Yes, that was the perfect example of what I asked. Like, your expression before was kind of vague, so that's why I had to kind of go more in detail with it to kind of see where your mindset, because there's different directions that it can go.
Right. So I mean,
I'm gonna teach my daughter. Yes, I want her to be strong. I want her to be independent to an extent. I also want her. I don't want her to feel like she has to do everything by herself. I want her to know that she can have help, and that she will have help. Whether
isn't
it's
the
from
unfortunate circumstances of marriage and parenthood is that there's a high percentage that she'll be in a situation where she'll be a single mother. That's very likely.
Just reality. That's just reality.
Right.
That's reality. Marriage doesn't even have to be discussed, because marriage isn't a for sure thing. Marriage isn't part of life. You don't have to get married.
Right.
That's a fairy tale bullshit that a lot of people believe in. Marriage is not a part of any aspect of having a future. You know what I mean? That's just something movies and propaganda put into girls' heads.
You don't think it's a useful union, or can be?
Hell the fuck no. The fuck no.
Really?
Marriage is bullshit. It's a piece of paper that binds you to somebody legally for financial benefit. That's all marriage is. Why do you think the military you get perks for getting married when you're in the military? That's a perfect example.
Wow.
It's bullshit.
Wow,
you don't
that's
need that
nihilistic.
shit to show somebody that you care about them. You need to think about it. How do people get married? They spend a lot of their hard-earned saved money to buy a fucking ring.
I used to be a wedding DJ, so I've experienced the extravagance.
That too. You're spending a lot of your life's money just for one day of excitement. That's a waste of money. Go on a vacation, enjoy it for two of you. You know, most married people stress during that time.
Yeah,
Because
I know, because I work
bullshit.
directly with them. Like, I work directly
So
with the
you
couple.
should know how stressful it was. Most of the time, the wedding couple doesn't even have the most fun. It's for everybody else.
It's
to
for
have
the
fun.
families.
That doesn't make sense.
It's for the family.
Eden, stop! Get off of me! Stop it! I don't want you climbing on my head! Get off of my head! Gosh! Ow!
Well, let me offer this. So, I mean, I get everything you just said, and I agree with it in some aspects. But like, for instance, my parents were married for 42 years. They went to a courthouse to get married. There was no wedding. You know, they stayed together for 42 years. They raised a family. They loved each other unconditionally every day of that marriage. So that's my sort of primary example of what a marriage could look like.
See, that's beautiful. See, you grew up in a household where marriage meant something, where it actually meant what most people want it to mean, and that's good. You know, there was no extravagance. Like, I don't hate the extravagant, but my thing is, you know, if you're gonna make it extravagant, enjoy it. Don't make it stressful. Don't do the most, especially if you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Just don't do all that.
The
'Cause then at
funnest
the end of the
weddings
day,
that I've
you're just
DJ'd
stressing yourself out.
have literally
Well, the most simple,
been in
right?
a backyard. Those
Exactly.
are the funnest ones.
Like a regular cookout.
The ones where they
friends
had
and
like
family get together.
expensive
you're
hotels
chilling.
were the worst.
Exactly. Because they're trying to show out for people. That's the thing.
True.
And that's the whole example of marriage. It's a fake. It's built on bullshit.
Well, right, like
For those instances.
the
Yeah.
business of marriage that's just the nature of it.
Exactly.
Right.
You buy an expensive ring.
Right.
You pay for an expensive day. You're buying a whole room full of food, expensive food, and activities, and then you're buying an expensive vacation after, which is the honeymoon. You spent damn near all the money you've raised in your life. Like you're probably never gonna get that as much money as you're gonna spend on your wedding ever again at that point.
Yeah.
And it's like, for what? For what?
I mean, sometimes it turns out to be
And then most people
a really good
sometimes-
party.
But most people get divorced. Then it's like, damn,
That's true.
you did all that just to get divorced.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It makes more sense for you to just enjoy your life together. You don't have to have a piece of paper and a medal on your finger to prove your love for somebody. Whoever made that rule is bullshit.
Isn't like
bullshit.
power of attorney a useful thing to have for your spouse?
But that's what I'm saying. Isn't that if you're together with somebody for a certain amount of time, you still get that. Because if you're together with somebody for what I think is 10 years, you get the domestic
Is that common law?
partnership, common law. Exactly. Like if you're together with somebody for 10 years and one person dies, you can still put on that paper that person gets all your stuff and everything because you're technically married. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you're together for 10 years and one day, you find out she's been duping you or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm leaving you, she can't take half your shit legally because you were never married.
Okay.
So it's a win-win.
Say I have a common law marriage, and I end up in a car wreck and I'm in a coma. Does that give them like the do not resuscitate rights?
It depends. If your family's involved, then no.
No, let's say there's no family.
Then yeah, technically it does.
Okay.
Because she's your emergency contact most likely, right?
Well, I would assume
And
so.
she's your spouse. Like she lives with you yeah.
I'm
So
just kind of
technically, I think
thinking
it
of like
does.
practical reasons that someone
I'm not
might be
legally
married.
sure,
Yeah.
but I think I would believe so.
Okay.
I can't see why it wouldn't be like that.
Yeah, you would think that it would cover do not resuscitate and all that. But you just never know. So that's interesting. Like, so just kind of like a weird kind of anecdote. Like my ex, she got married and she had a son, and a month after the son was born, her husband got in a terrible car accident. And
Oh, wow.
he was messed up. He was in a coma.
Who is shooting me?
But she ended up making the decision to pull the plug, even though his family were vehemently against it.
Yeah. And you said they weren't married.
No, they were married.
Oh, they were married. Okay. See, I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. I feel like in that situation, it should go into democracy. Like, hey, this person's family and his wife is here. The family doesn't want him to die, but his wife does. So
Damn, don't
we're
put it
taking
that
it
way.
to a vote. I mean, that's hey,
Jesus.
it's a life.
I
There's
know.
no sugarcoating in life.
You're right.
You feel me?
Right.
There's no sugarcoats. Are we gonna kill him? Or are we gonna keep him on life support? That's literally like, if I was a doctor,
right.
that's how I'm approaching it.
Right.
Because you have to notice the severity of this. You know what I mean? You can't sugarcoat shit
And
like that.
the
'Cause
truth of
that's
the
where
matter
people
was,
get confused.
he wasn't going to get better. Like,
He was a vegetable.
yes.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing too. Like, it has to become like, I feel like there's a whole discussion that has to be done with the family, the wife, and the doctor should obviously, I mean, that's the doctor's job to obviously like sit there and explain to everybody, like, look, okay, we're putting this to a vote, but before we vote, we have to understand that I'm the doctor. There is a 95% chance that he will not wake up. That means he will be bedridden until he literally dies.
And the only way he's going to
And he
breathe
won't
is through these
remember.
machines.
Yes.
Right.
And then, so at that point, it's like, okay, and now we're saying, you know, we have the wife who is for, and in that sense, that's when you kind of can sugarcoat it. We have the wife who wants to
DNR.
give him a sweet release
Do not resuscitate.
from suffering, yes. But the family is trying. We have the family who is trying to hold on. So you're kind of going on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, both sides are like good and bad. Like, you have the wife that wants to give him the sweet release. Like, yeah, she wants to kill him, but she wants to release his suffering. But you have the family who wants to hold on to him, but he's suffering. So you see what I'm saying? You're not sugarcoating it. You're giving both sides.
Do you remember Terry Schiavo?
I don't know who that is.
Terry, this was a case. It was an international. It was like a national news story for like months. But it was a woman who was in a coma, and there was this sort of war between the family and her husband about, you know, if they were gonna pull the plug or if they were gonna continue to like leave her, you know, on life support. It was like a big national story for some reason. And it brought up this topic of do not resuscitate and spouse rights in the event of, you know, horrible accidents that it could result in like brain injury, you know, to where they're vegetables or. It was an interesting story, but okay, so that I was just kind of laying those things out to lay out or to speak to what might be practical reasons for a marriage. So, you know, decision making in the event that you can't make your own decisions, you know, passing down, you know, money or whatever, you know, the case may be.
If you have a will, it doesn't matter if you're married.
Well, that's
If
true.
you have a will, your will out trumps that. So the moral of that is, if you know, once you're a certain age or you have children, you need to get a notary and write a fucking will, just in case you get into a situation where you're kind of fucked.
So I think another morbid thing about marriage, this is where I'm agreeing with you here, like, is that it's typically in the woman's eyes, it's not legitimate unless we go through the whole ceremony and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I've known couples that have been they've been together long enough to be considered common law. Like, they're married.
Yeah.
Right? But like the woman still kind of
Doesn't
looks
feel
at
it
it as
because-
illegitimate because they haven't
exactly,
gone through
because she doesn't have
the song
a
and
fucking
dance.
ring on her finger. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the bullshit. It's like, why the fuck do I have to go in debt for you to be happy with me? Like, why is that your goal?
Because
You feel me?
society
And
has
that's how
sold her on this idea.
Exactly. And that's how I look at it, and
Yeah.
that's why I tell females when I'm dating, like, I don't believe in that shit, because it looks to me like you only want me to to spoil you and spend my hard-earned money on you. Like, that's all this is about. Just
So,
the end of the day,
we both
you're
agree
getting pampered.
that this is the nature of marriage for a lot of people. But that doesn't have to be the nature of your marriage.
No, it doesn't. But a lot of, like we said, a lot of females look at it like that. So unless I find one that, yeah, she wants marriage, but
Yeah.
she wants it just so she can have, like, my last name, I'll take that over all that other bullshit.
Right.
You feel me? That, to me, sounds so much more legitimate. Like, she wants to be a part of me so badly. She wants me. She wants my name. You understand? Like, I get that. That is perfectly
Okay,
understandable.
that's another practical reason to get married.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But anything else that a girl may try to tell me, oh yeah, I want a ring so I can show it off, or yada yada, because technically, and this is where a lot of females get tripped up, because it's like they be like, oh, because you don't necessarily need a ring to get married. You just need something to have for whatever, the bond or something. No, I learned that off of Fast and Furious. When he used his necklace, like, you don't have to have a ring.
Yeah.
You can use anything for the symbol of the marriage. But anyways, yeah, like, you say you go to fucking random jewelry store and you buy $100 ring. You feel me? It's not breaking your pockets, but you spend $100 on it, and so it's a nice ring, you know, a nice stainless steel ring. A girl ain't gonna like that shit.
You went to the
ring, right?
You went to Jalalabad's kiosk in the mall.
But I'm saying, you feel me? It's not gonna stain. You're not gonna get scratches. Like, I got you a ring.
Right.
Girls aren't gonna like that shit. So it's like, oh, so
Some
you
girls
do want me to break. Honestly, I don't think any. Well, that's true. Some girls are not gonna care what you give them. That's
Right.
true. There are some girls that's gonna be like, he did it.
There's a
He
lot of girls
proposed
that
to
would
me, he
value
gave
the
me something.
heirloom over an expensive
That's a
new.
fact.
You know.
That's a fact. But yeah, it's all about who you choose at the end of the day. That's
And
the thing.
that's why you got to be careful, like,
You gotta be.
because
hella
really
careful,
these
that's
things
a
are
fact.
sort of test for
Yeah.
how solid of a man or a woman is in this relationship. Like, are they here for, like, to get a come up?
Shenanigans. Yeah, exactly.
Or do they really want to
Are
adopt
they
my
here for
name?
me?
Do they really want to have my child? Do they really want to build a life with me? But
Exactly.
you just can't really
It's
know
all
those
scary
things
things.
until the marriage is underway.
You never know.
You
That's
never
the thing.
know.
Even after you're married, you never truly know. You just fucking hope.
Right.
You just really hope, and you hope more and more things make you, more assured that you hoped right.
Right.
But you never truly know.
Hey, what's up,
'Cause
Jason?
anything can happen.
Yeah. Oh, Jason's back.
Yep, yeah.
This
What's
kid's
up, man?
good, man. He's good at this
Yeah,
damn
his
game.
damage is really good.
He was shredding them last night.
He got some good damage going out.
Yeah. Okay, so we got off on marriage, but what was I forgot where that started. What was we talking about?
Well, you were asking if we were talking about daughters and daughters being strong.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you went into marriage, talking about like how a lot of little girls want to grow up and get married and stuff. But no, that's not a moral I'm gonna necessarily teach my daughter, because
Right.
one, I can't really teach her that from experience, because nobody in my family really has that positive experience for marriage. From my family, all marriage shows is that you may have a kid from it, and then you're gonna break up, and that's it. You were married. You were married. Or the most of the marriages nowadays, yeah, you're married, but you're separated. So yeah, you're still married, but y'all not together. You're just not going through the hassle of divorce. Because what's divorce? A whole nother certificate that you have to go through law and pay for, and a whole nother bill. That's how marriage is a scheme. Because to get into it, you gotta pay an arm and a leg, and to get out of it, you gotta pay the other arm and the leg. It's all it's just a big money bag. That's all it is.
Armored hostile detected.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as negative about it as
considered from that.
Do you
Well,
think?
I get that because you grew up with seeing.
So
like,
this you
a
feel
good
this way
marriage.
because you have so much divorce in your family.
Well, seeing, yeah, everybody that I've seen who's gotten married has divorced,
Yeah.
and or separated. Everybody, every single person. And I've known over 10 different married couples. Even the ones that I'd be hopeful for. Like my cousin just got married, I think last year or the year before that. I'm not trying to talk ill will, but you know, for obvious I am saying what's obvious. I'm not gonna say it out loud, but yeah.
But the
you
fact
know,
that divorce
time.
is so rampant, is that an indictment on marriage itself or an indictment on people and their inability to work through problems?
It's kind of both, because when people get married, most people get comfortable.
Yeah.
And they think because they're married, certain things about the relationship doesn't stand anymore. Like certain of the limitations or restrictions, or just the conversations and the respect. A lot of the respect aspects just doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like some guys think, oh, I'm a married man now, so I can fuck random girls, but I still have a wife.
Who thinks
Some guys
that?
think that. Some guys think that, and some girls think that too. Like, oh, I'm your wife, but I may fuck around occasionally, but at the end of the day, I'll come home to you. Like, I make them use condoms.
Oh,
like, some
shit.
people really fucking think that, and some people get to that. Like, oh, because I'm his wife, I can dog him out, and he'll never leave me because I'm married. We're
Right.
married.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, some people really go through those fucked up mindsets. and that's
These
the
are all
thing.
examples of when there's no respect left.
And sometimes that can just be the whole point of why they wanted to get married, just because they know what you have, and they want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Not everybody is that smart to get prenups, and prenups don't always go the way you want it to,
Right.
because prenups goes both ways. Sometimes people get prenups, and then the other person ends up getting some money, and that means you're not getting none of that too. Sometimes it ends up like that.
Right.
It's crazy, man. It's all crazy fucking loop-de-loop.
Man, but I feel
all
you.
crazy.
But I think one day you're gonna meet a girl who's gonna change your whole perception and
Like I said, I
mindset
don't feel
on
any
this issue.
type of way about marriage. Like I said, I will definitely marry a girl if she's worth it.
Agent killed.
But that's where it gets very critique, because it's gonna take a while for me to see if you're worth it. Like my longest relationship was my baby mom just now for 3 years. So I just talked to one of my best friends the day before yesterday, and I told him, like, honestly, I have to be with a girl for at least 10 years before I even think about that shit. Maybe 5, 10 may be a lot, but it has to be a long period of time for me to even contemplate if she's worth it, because I've seen people change. Like I said 10 years because, like I said, I had a best friend. We were friends for 10 fucking years, and then he just up and threw me away. So that's why I chose that time frame, because it's like, if you're with somebody for 10 years and everything's going well, then I believe that assurance we were talking about earlier, like, I believe you a lot more than I did before about you sticking with me. You feel me? You've been here for 10 years, and yeah, we had our ups and downs, but we're still going at it. You feel me? So after that, it's like, okay, I can trust that it's only gonna get better from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that situation, yeah, I will definitely 100% marry a girl.
Right.
But That's a long fucking commitment. You feel me? For anything.
Dante's
I
got a
haven't
lot
had
of
family
you
member
got
be in
a
my
pretty
life for
rough
10
checklist
years.
that a woman's gotta hit.
But that's what I'm saying. I haven't had a family member in my life for 10 years going well.
Right.
You feel me? Like it's hard because people are fucked.
Yeah, but you
People are
don't
fucked.
you don't have to be like your family. Like
No, I agree.
just because they all got divorced, that doesn't mean that if there's a curse, a family curse.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's a curse. I just don't believe in what other people believe in it. Like I don't see it the way other people see it. I don't. It's like religion. Like I don't believe in Jesus in that sense at all. I don't believe in Jesus. I believe that there's a higher power, but the whole Jesus died for our sins and Christmas is his birth, all that shit. I don't believe all that shit.
Right.
That shit just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, they're fairy tales.
It does. It sounds exactly like a made up stories.
Well,
Exactly.
they're allegories, right? Like
Yeah, because
they're-
I've even had people who are like hard Christians come at me and be like, oh well, you can go to Jerusalem and see where Moses split the water and see all the proof of this and that and this and that, and I'm just like, okay, well pass me with that shit, because in 50 million years I can say the fucking Bermuda Triangle was made by a fucking woolly mammoth. People are gonna believe it because they can't fucking prove that millions of years ago this is what happened. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, yes, I believe weird shit happens, but I don't believe in that somebody told, like a higher being told somebody to write words in a book for millions to follow for millions and billions of years, and that book was fucking racist and a whole bunch of stupid shit in that book. That's what I just don't believe in that.
So, you remember that game you played as a kid, Telephone, where you sit in a circle and one person starts it off and whispers something into the ear of the person on the right, and then it goes around the circle?
Never played that game.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know, yeah, I know.
So, like, it goes around the circle, and the last person says whatever the phrase is. It's completely different than how it began.
It gets
right?
it gets disoriented because everybody's putting their 2 cents into it,
Right.
and then by the time it gets to the end person, it's nowhere near what the first person
So
said.
I feel like that's how I feel about religion. We've been doing
About
that
the
for
yeah.
thousands of years.
Exactly. One person, exactly. So it's like today, one person did a little fake magic trick with their finger. You feel me? Or the way people be double jointed and doing those dances with their backs and shit, right? 2,000 years from now, somebody will be like, yeah, the somebody was taken over by the devil and their fucking back broke right in front of my great uncle. You feel me? Like it gets disorientated.
I can believe that.
You feel me? Because back then it could have been a big ass storm and the water just fucking moved. It's possible. Who knows? It's possible. Like waves, you know, there's waves where the waves can get so fucking high that it looks like some crazy shit. That could have been it for thousands of years. Who knows what kind of fucking world shit was going on? Who knows?
That's funny.
Even dinosaurs. Like I kind of don't believe in dinosaurs because it just doesn't seem ethical. Like yeah, we're finding bones and
it
stuff.
doesn't
but
seem
bones
what?
can come from everything. It doesn't seem ethical. Like there were flying dinosaurs back then, right?
Okay.
Because you know how they say crocodiles are dinosaurs?
Right.
Okay, if crocodiles lived this long, how come the birds didn't? The birds were flying. How did they get hit by the asteroid? But then people say, oh, well, the earth was polluted, so they died from the air and stuff. So the water wasn't polluted? The crocodiles lived, but the birds didn't. I'm like,
Well,
how did birds get so domesticated that they,
it's not,
shrunk? It's weird.
The crocodile. So okay, like dogs, right? For instance, like dogs came from wolves, and over millions of years of evolution, in the beginning, a large part of it where men, where wolves were predators and men were prey, the wolf started to instinctually learn that it's easier if he befriends the human, right?
Well, in the domestic violence, yeah, because I mean, well, I agree with that in a sense. Like, if you raise any animal to an extent, not any animal, not every animal. I guess it depends. It depends on the animal and the type of raising, because I guess.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it depends. But yeah, if you raise most animals from birth, from when they're small, they're gonna love you. They're not gonna grow up to kill you. Like I said, there's some exceptions. Like I don't really trust snakes, but even people feel that way. But there's situations where people raise snakes and had big ass fucking 50,000 feet long anacondas near their fucking babies, and they didn't fucking die.
Right.
That would never. Hell no, but there's cases that you get what I'm saying. Like, I would, if I had money, I would buy a lion cub, and I would raise it, and I would never think it was gonna fucking eat me in the night or anything like that, because I would raise it.
Siegfried and Roy, they raised their big old cats like that their whole lives, and one day finally on stage, that motherfucker snapped.
Well, think about what you just said.
What?
They were they were doing show business. You and me know how blindsided show business can be. Who knows what they're doing backstage to those animals?
Yeah.
Animals are very extinctual. I'm not extinctual.
At the end of the day, they're still dealing with an apex predator.
Instincts.
Like,
I mean, true, but even so. I don't know if you heard the story. In a lot of cases, there's stories where, well, even in the jungle, this happens. So animals know what babies are. They don't necessarily always kill babies. You understand? For food, because they know how innocent a baby is. So their animals are smarter than people give them credit for. So what I'm saying with that is
they're instinctual.
Yeah, and in cases, animals know when they're loved and what love is, and what to care for, and they also know when they're treated wrong. You understand?
And when they're raised in captivity.
Like I said, exactly, and exactly. So instincts, no matter how something is raised, if it could be one day, if you do it wrong at any point, that one day could turn into a very bad day for the animal. You don't know what's going on to the animals. Animals go through shits too. You feel me? That one day could have been a bad day for that animal. That should have been the one day that you didn't fucking treat that animal bad.
And that one day you look like a snack.
That's what I'm saying. You feel me? It all comes down to that one day. Though, like, don't do that. You feel me? Like I said, if I was ever rich, I would definitely fucking put it in a fucking. I'm not gonna. Basically, it's gonna be raised in its own habitat to the extent of I'm not gonna have it feel like it's prisoner. If I have that type of money, it's gonna have its own place,
Savannah,
yard or exactly. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'll buy a whole zoo for that motherfucker. You're not a prisoner. No, seriously, you're not a prisoner.
Right.
But you're not necessarily free. You feel me?
Right.
You're here. This is our space, and you're not bound.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for you to ever feel like
you put them in a sanctuary.
You need more. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. To where it's controlled. You're never gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm a caged animal. I'm unhappy. No, because you're gonna have a free space.
You don't want to throw meat into a cage that they're sitting in.
Exactly, and then one day they're just like, yo, I can't fucking spread my legs. Like, yeah, like I'm gonna give you a space where you can run,
Yeah.
exercise. You gonna have some lioness bitches.
Oh,
You feel me?
shit.
All that.
Lion pimps. Hell yeah.
For real, cause I went to when
That would
I was
be
in
very
Washington. I
expensive,
went
but-
to a I mean, yeah, that's why, yeah. Did you best believe some people are living like this, where they
I know.
actually like they raise lions? Yeah, it's fucking cool.
Have you seen Tiger King?
I like it. No.
You haven't seen Tiger King?
No.
Dude.
But when I was in Washington, I went to a like this camp festival thing,
Yeah.
and they had a golden retriever, and he was a pure breed golden retriever,
Oh,
and they made money off of him because they breeded him constantly, and it was one boy, and they had like 7 girl full breed golden retrievers for him, and it was one boy impregnating all the women. Yeah, that's
had a
how
harem.
that's how they were doing it. Exactly.
Jesus.
Exactly. You can't say that dog was not the most loyal dog that ever lived. He had the life. He
That
was
dog is
living
in a
like
lap of
king.
luxury.
That's what I'm saying, and it, you know, like I said, it was a festival place, so it was a whole ranch. Like he had land. You feel me? He can do whatever he wanted. He was never in a kennel. He was never told no. He could do whatever he wanted. When he wanted to fuck, he fucked. When he wanted to eat, he ate. He can go wherever he wanted to go.
Lucky ass
That dog lived like a king.
Yeah.
Hostiles.
Man,
Guarding
that's
location
funny.
nearby.
You would actually buy a tiger cub?
A lion or a tiger cub? Yes,
Oh
yes
my
I would.
God, dude.
Cause it's just a cat. It's a cat.
No, it's not just a cat.
It's a cat. It gets it turns into a big cat, but it's a cat. It turns into a very big cat.
I think
just
the
have to
maintenance
raise it with love.
requires
Have to
a
raise
bit
it with
more
love.
than a cat.
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You can't just have a fucking litter box.
Yeah, you
yes.
can't just have a litter box.
It can't be in your house jumping on your fucking fridge.
Right.
But
You can't trick it with a
just
laser
have to-
pointer.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you probably can.
Oh,
I'm
well,
pretty
you
sure
probably
they'll
could, yeah.
probably like that shit too. But yeah, you
They'd
just have
eat your-
to,
they'd
you have
eat
to
you
raise it
whole.
with love. Well, no, they can't eat you whole.
No,
But they
well,
can eat you.
they'd see that
They can
laser
eat
pointer
you,
and
they
they'd track it back to your hand and be like, that hand looks like a good snack.
Motherfucker. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. When you raise them, they don't think of you as food. Because, especially if, and that's the thing too, you gotta think, whoever, the Sippy and Roy, they probably wasn't feeding them well. They probably was doing the whole, we're training you with food.
I mean-
that's bad sometimes. You can't always do
Yeah.
that, especially with an apex predator, because when they're hungry, they're gonna fucking eat.
Right.
That's the instinctual part of them.
I mean, that's probably
they're
the only
hungry,
way
they're
they
gonna
can
eat.
train them to do those tricks
But that,
and stuff.
but I get that. That's fine. But I'm saying
Yeah,
like
yeah, right.
you can't. They still have to have food whenever they're hungry.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have extra snacks. You see what I'm saying? Like the way I trade when I had pit bulls, they had their food in the bowl at all times. They had food whenever they were hungry. They know they can eat. But to train them, I had separate snack stuff that they would want to train them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you always have
Special
your
treats.
food
Yeah.
whenever exactly, but you get the special stuff when you do certain things.
Right.
But we all know show business. They probably was like, no, you eat when you do this. This is gonna make you train better. You understand?
Yeah.
That's probably what they were fucking doing. Being dumbasses.
I wonder
like,
how
yeah, we own
humane
you.
they were with their cats.
But this is what I'm saying, because I'm pretty sure at some point even the zoos don't necessarily do it right, because they don't just leave food out them for the animals all the time. It's controlled. And you ever went to the zoo and just seen the fucking lions and how fucking bored they are?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of
They
sad
are
when
fed,
you
but
go to the zoo
exactly,
and you
it's
see that.
very
like,
fucking sad, because
it's pretty
they're
sad,
just
yeah.
sitting there like, this is whack. I know what's going on. This is
Yeah.
fucking boring. And
Yeah,
they're
they shouldn't-
probably
they shouldn't
drugged.
be in there.
They don't talk about it, but I know they're drugged because it's a cat.
Right.
Most of the time when I see where the lion is, I'm like, this nigga can jump this easily, because I can get over there. If I can get over there, I know for a fact this nigga can come here and eat everybody if he wants. It's a fucking cat. Cats can jump ridiculous. So I be looking at it like he's probably high out his fucking mind. It's either he's well fed or they got him hipped up on catnip.
Yeah, they be pumping him with sedatives and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
They have to.
Exactly. That's why they don't have gorillas at zoos. I've never seen a gorilla.
Yeah, you can't really sedate a gorilla.
Do that. Exactly. You can't do that.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna work. One day they gonna be like, fuck that shit. All it takes is one day. Gorillas are the closest to humans. They're too smart.
Right.
They'll be like, we already know what this shit is about. Like, yeah, they have the Congos, but the Congos are controlled. It's not open all the time. And I'm pretty sure they don't have full-size gorillas in that bitch.
Gorillas in the mist. Man, have you ever seen Gorilla Man?
No.
Gorilla Man, I forget the dude's name. He was this dude. He lived amongst grizzlies in Alaska. Like he lived amongst them for like years.
Grizzly bears?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was like the grizzly whisperer or something, man. Like he could do anything with these things. Like they treated him
But why
like.
was he called Gorilla Man?
No. Grizzlies. I meant grizzlies.
So he was called Grizzly Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but eventually, him and his wife ended up getting mauled by a bear. What's funny?
It's ironic. That's just life. How Crocodile Dundee died from a fucking stingray. Like, this nigga wrestled crocodiles every day of his life, played with snakes, fucking danced with poisonous shit every day for his whole life, and he dies by the most non-threatening fucking animal, fish, in the world.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, he didn't die by. That's what I'm saying. He didn't die by the sword. He died by the fucking spoon.
Well, he got shot in the heart with barbs. He took barbs to the heart.
Yeah, no, he took the stingray's tail to the heart. The one tail stabbed him, and that's it. Yeah, but it was just a fluke. It just punctured the perfect spot. That's what I'm saying. It was ironic. And it's always like that.
Well, it's like he was destined to die that way.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Look at Paul Walker from Fast and Furious. He died in a fucking car accident. When a fucking professional race car driver was driving, people would think, damn, maybe if you drove and acted like you're fucking...
He wasn't driving?
He wasn't driving, dude.
Oh,
so it's like, maybe if you were driving, it wouldn't happen.
Wow.
That's fucking ironic.
Yeah.
You died in a fucking car with a professional race car driver.
Wasn't he like speeding pretty excessively? Like,
well, yeah, the race car driver was, but he didn't.
Right.
He didn't get hurt. The race car driver had no broken bones.
oh wow.
He walked out, but that's how it is. That's how cars are made. The driver is untouched, and everybody else is fucked.
Yeah. And he was probably just trying to show off for Paul. Like,
hey, that's exactly what happened. His nigga hit a tree.
Trying to impress
He
him.
hit a fucking tree.
Yeah. That's. But hey,
like,
man.
whenever you hear hitting a tree, it's like you know you were doing dumb shit. Trees don't move. You were doing something stupid.
Wrapped it around a tree.
You were probably doing one of the tricks you seen Paul Walker do in his movie.
Right, yeah.
And then fucked up.
You know he was trying to do something stupid.
That's what I'm saying. That's the ironic shit. Most people, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson died by his fucking doctor. Told him to keep taking a fucking drug, and he overdosed. Like, what the fuck?
Propofol, yeah.
This man probably been doing that drug his whole fucking life. He probably was immune to the shit to an extent.
Yeah, you know, Michael has some slaps and some bops, but Michael was
Allegedly. Allegedly.
I
They
think
never
it was.
proved it. They never proved it, but yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter because whatever
matters.
people knew or think they knew, it wasn't gonna change how they felt about him. Yeah, people are just not gonna. I mean, shit, they shouldn't have did it in the first place. Like, I don't care how fucking famous you are, how good your music is. I'm not letting my fucking kids go to your fucking house.
Yeah, but dude, he was so methodical about it. He would befriend the parents and
But
make
this
them
is
feel
this is
comfortable.
my point.
Like,
But why? But still, like, I'm not bringing my kids to a celebrity's house and their playground. That's just weird.
dude, not even
Why
that.
do you have a playground in your house? You're a grown man.
He would gain their trust to such an extent that they would let their son go on tour with him.
No, I know.
Like-
I know that it was crazy. Like, it wasn't just Michael Jackson though. It's a lot of celebrities who do that shit, who do weird shit.
But
R.
to the
Kelly was
degree
doing it with
that Michael
Aaliyah.
did, Michael, like,
R. Kelly was
Wow.
doing it to damn near any girl who would let him do it. And
Yeah.
the world knew. They just felt some type of way after years of it.
well, you know what that is.
R. Kelly was never secretive.
Black
He
people
was
are very
always out.
protective over their heroes.
But it wasn't, that's the thing though. It wasn't just black people that knew that shit. White
Yeah.
people was listening to his music. There was white girls and shit like that.
That's true.
The difference is, the white girls were being smarter about getting peed on or whatever they're saying. I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know. But the point is, everybody knew what was going on. Everybody knew. It wasn't like he was only talking to black people. Everybody knew what was happening. You feel
Right.
me? They just felt some type of way after it happened too much or something. Who knows?
Well,
Same ironic
I
death.
mean,
Kobe Bryant.
he was a
Kobe
victim.
Bryant's death was ironic as fuck too.
He was a victim of Me Too. Like, that's what really, like,
R. Kelly?
yeah, accelerated the legal proceedings.
Yeah.
In regards
I
to
agree.
all his stuff.
But that too, that's the part that's weird to me too. For a lot of celebrities, it's like I don't condone it, but at the same time, it's like, how do you get caught in in those dumbass scandals? You're a celebrity. You have access to go to the states or countries that allow that age, which is weird. But I mean, hey, you have that power. So why not utilize that? You feel me? Because technically, say this, you can't, if you go to one of those states that let marriage legal at, say, 14, and you go to a different state, I don't necessarily know the rules on that, but I'm pretty sure if you have a fucking marriage certificate, they can't fucking arrest you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can fucking shun you and try to kill you and try to do something to you, but legally, they can't arrest you if you have a fucking marriage certificate.
I mean,
Legally, they can't, because you can fight that in court. Like, hey, we are married.
I
It
think
happened in
the
this
celebrities
state
just
where
look
it's
at
allowed.
themselves as untouchable, and they think that they can just
Well, that's what it is.
do it with impunity.
They're put on a pedestal. Yeah, that's a fact.
Right. I mean, in a lot of
That's a fact.
ways, like, we facilitate an R. Kelly, right? Like, we bolster his likeness and his image, and we deify him, and we create an environment where he's powerful enough to get away with doing
Well,
the
yeah.
stuff that he did for years. You know, like we.
Well, my thing is, all the girls he did it to gave him consent. It's not like he
Oh, I
was
know.
fucking Bill Cosby,
No.
who was, duping girls and
Right.
doing real dirty shit. He was doing legit shit with girls who accepted it.
Well, I don't know if it was
To
legit.
me, that's fine. It's like, hey, I mean, like whatever they were into. He was doing the fetish shit that they were into, whatever. It's like, hey, if y'all into that, you do what you gotta do. That's on you. Because at the end of the day, in the real world, girls in high school are already dating guys who are twice their age and shit like that. It happens all the time.
Right.
So it's like, for y'all to really act like shit is different now is bullshit. Girl, are you spitting on
Well,
me?
things
Can
are
you
different.
Stop?
I mean, let's go back like 40, 50 years. Jerry Lee Lewis was one of the biggest recording artists in the country, married his 14-year-old cousin.
What state did that happen in?
I don't know.
Look that up, because I'm pretty sure it's not that different now.
Well,
pretty sure, depending on what state it's in.
right.
Yeah.
But still,
not that
but
different.
even if that was legal in a state, morally that's still screwed up, right? But
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. We're not talking about moral. We're talking about legal. Morally, this all this shit is fucked up.
yeah.
But legally, there's still states
But even
that allow you
morally,
to get with.
I don't think
little
many people
girls.
would have had a problem with, did have a problem with it back then. Like, it was looked at as,
Because back then it was legal.
yeah, I mean,
Legal and moral go hand in hand.
I don't know. Really?
Because if something's legal, then everybody believes it's moral. You understand? That's why nobody
I
bats an
guess.
eye if somebody tries to fuck a 17-year-old because they're so close, or a 16-year-old because they're so close to being that legal age. That's why it's 17 and parent consent.
right?
What's the difference with the other ages? If the parents know, you're basically saying, go ahead, fuck my child. As long as I know about it, that makes
Well,
it better.
So here's a little weird anecdote. My first job was as a butcher at this like discount grocery store. And my boss was this like, I think he was like 37 or something at the time.
Signs 0.
He was married, but they got divorced. There was this mother and daughter who frequented the grocery store, and they'd come in all the time, and they'd just hang out with Paul, like walk around the store with him as he worked. Like, it was weird. It was a weird situation. So as the weeks and months go on, Paul starts like openly dating this girl who was like 13. Like, to the point to where he's like walking around the grocery store holding hands with her. You know, like I'd go into the meat cooler to get some ground beef or some steaks and catch him in there making out. And the mother supported it, was completely for it. Like,
We live in the world. If the parents like somebody enough, they don't care how old they don't care about the age.
Right.
They don't. They just look at the benefits of that person dating their kid.
Well, he ended up getting convicted.
Yeah, because everybody else cared.
Right.
But that's the thing. Most people don't care because of the actual thing that's going on. A lot of people secretly care because it's not them that it's happening.
A lot of customers care. Like, I think it was a customer that ended up reporting him. And they would always, like, customers always ask me, like, what's going on with this old man and this 14-year-old holding hands walking around? I'm like, dude, I don't know. My name's Paul, and this shit's between y'all. I didn't know what to do. Like, the cops even called me to testify. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. But, you know, it doesn't matter what state. It doesn't matter if it was legal. It doesn't matter what era it happened. Like, a 20-something-year-old man courting a 14, 15-year-old girl is always wrong, will always be wrong. I mean, and
I agree.
That's just it. Like, I mean, you're dealing with. I don't, for the life of me, I don't understand what is sexy about prepubescence. Like,
Well, put it this way. If who's your favorite actress?
shit, I don't even.
Like, who's the actress that you think is just drop dead gorgeous that you
Well,
just
I'll
wanna
tell you,
fuck?
growing up, I thought it was Sandra Bullock.
All right. So say you're, I don't know, 60, 70 years old, and Sandra Bullock is 25, and she fucking wanted you.
Okay, wait. Hold on, go back.
Would you date her?
So say that I'm 60
You're 60 years old.
and Sandra Bullock's like in her
Bullock is
20s.
25. She's, yep, 25.
That's weird, but it's not wrong.
0.
Oh, so you would date her?
Sure.
But see, that's where it contradicts in a way. That's where people that's where the morality and the lawfully
Yeah,
get mixed up.
but the
because
difference is
do the math. Do the math. You're 60 years old. You're 45 years older
Right.
than her.
But
45 years.
a
When she
25-year-old
was
is at
born,
an
you were
age to where
45
she can think on her own and make her own
Okay.
decisions.
Some cultures, so is a 14-year-old.
Okay, well, those cultures are wrong. Those cultures are fucking
But
wrong.
wait, who are you to tell? You can't tell a culture that they're wrong.
They are.
That's where you're morally wrong.
A 14-year-old
You
is
can't
not
tell
a woman.
Culture that they're wrong. You can't know. Well, that's wrong too, because technically a woman is when they are allowed to have babies, when they can't have a baby. Sometimes that happens very early. So in most cultures, that's when they're a woman.
That's still wrong.
You can't tell a culture that they're wrong in certain cases.
I mean,
You
I get that,
can't.
like, Hispanics have quinceañeras. Is that 15?
That's what, but I guess. But my point is, some girls can get their period as early as pre-teens, tweens, sometimes earlier than that.
That
They
doesn't
can have
mean
babies.
that they can consent.
See, consent is propaganda as well.
Mm.
Consent was a created word like the Bible. I'm not condoning. I'm on both ends. I'm just spitting the logic
Whoa, hold
of
on.
the world. You understand?
So,
Like consent was a
consent
word
is a
created
what?
for people. Consent was a word. It's a word created by man.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Okay.
younger kids or people can't be taken advantage of.
Right.
But legally, consent is not an accurate word to certain cases, because legally, if you're talking consent, a lot of things put you into a non-consensual state. You know, if you take mouthwash, you can't give consent. If you go to court
What?
and
What do you mean?
Because mouthwash has alcohol in it.
Oh, really?
If you wash your mouth with mouthwash, and if a girl washes her mouth with mouthwash and you fuck, and y'all go to court, you raped her.
What?
I learned this in the military.
Come on.
Because technically, mouthwash is alcohol.
What?
and you see what I'm saying? Morals and legals are one and the same.
Sometimes, but not always.
It's a very thin line.
But not always.
Very thin line. No, not always at all. But when is anything as you know, as related to the other thing? A lot of things are you know, good and bad can be very close to each other, but at the same time very far. You feel me?
Well,
Like it's all.
We have
it's a
legal
slippery
standards
slope.
and precedents, and then we have societal
Yes,
precedents.
but where did it come from? It was all created. It was all created by one person's preference, by one person
Right.
who felt, or multiple people who felt some type of way about certain things. It doesn't make it right. It just makes it that that's what people are living by. They don't have these rules in Russia. You feel me?
Well, they have
Russians
different sets of
probably-
rules.
But that's what I'm saying. Russians probably, their age of consent probably is like 14 or something like that. Who knows?
Might be.
But the point is, it's the difference is a girl who's 25 doesn't, just because she's 25, that don't make her a woman because she's that old.
What do you mean?
You don't become, listen, you don't become a man or a woman just because of your age. Becoming a man or a woman is more maturity, your mindset. Anybody can call themselves a man or a woman. It's just like having a kid. Just because you have a kid does not make you a parent. Yes, by law, yeah, you are that parent, that kid's parent, but that doesn't mean that you are their guidance. You understand what I'm saying? You can you can give birth, you can legally be a person's mom or dad, but that doesn't make you the person who raises them as their mother and father. You
You
understand what I'm
can be
saying?
a baby daddy, or you can be a father.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Or yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So that's it's a play on words, but that's life. It's like that's the slippery slope of a lot of things. And that's why I brought up that example, because any person is gonna go with that if I'm 60 to the 25, give or take example, whether you're the 25-year-old or you're the 60-year-old, either way, if that's the person of your dreams or somebody that you're attracted to, and the society says it's legal, you're gonna go with it. And that's what most of the time what it was when the girls who were that young or the boys who were that young, most of the time it was their religion or whatever that allowed it to be when they was that young, because some cultures, they plan marriages when they're like
Right.
14 or young as hell,
Right.
and they put them married to somebody else. But my point is, it's
Which is
just a
barbaric and
slippery
wrong.
slope, dude. I mean, it's something. We can't necessarily call it wrong because
It's a system
not
in
in
where
our
they treat
place.
women like property.
But that's the thing. You say that, then all of history was wrong.
Well,
All of history
It
was
was,
wrong.
yeah, you're right. It was. It is. I mean, even going back to marriage, like the ceremony of the wedding is you're symbolically being given the woman by her father.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's backwards as hell. It's barbaric. It's history. Things are supposed to change throughout time. Like we adopt better standards over time, and we apply these things to our societies. Like, while it may have been fine and dandy for Elvis to marry his 14-year-old cousin in 1950, that's not fucking right now. And
But
most
people
of
aren't getting better.
society.
What makes you think times is gonna get better?
What do you mean?
If people aren't growing as a collective, like using their brains and stuff like that, then nothing's gonna get better.
Things have gotten
Things
better.
from No, things have not gotten better.
What?
You keep saying things have
Dude,
gotten worse.
Are you telling me you're a black man? You telling me
Okay.
you would rather go back and live in the Jim Crow South of the 1950s than live in the 2024 where, if anything,
Okay,
black is celebrated?
To some extent, things have gotten better. To
Yeah.
some extent, but not generically, because you can still say, hey, well, no, I don't want to go back, but at the same time, I can't go outside and do whatever I want at certain places because I'll get killed by a cop.
Well, okay, that's true.
You feel me? So
Right.
that's the difference.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So did they get better? No. They changed a little bit. It just changed form a little bit,
So,
changed shape.
All right. Oh,
You
what about this
understand?
example?
The conditions have changed. Like our living situations, yeah.
So-
Our living situations have gotten much better. But things have not gotten better.
In 1957, my great uncle, William Sousa Bridgeforth, opened the first black-owned club in Nashville, and it was the first place that black performers could perform in Nashville.
Okay, that's a good milestone.
He operated it for 60 years. Like, Etta James recorded a record in the basement. Like, Little Richard was the house band when they first opened the place. Like, Jimi Hendrix played there. Generations of black performers, like, came through this place, right? fast forward to now, where if you turn on the radio, if you look at the Billboard charts, 8 out of the top 10 songs are black artists.
Or trash black artists.
Okay, maybe trash, but they are black artists.
But does that not show how things have gotten worse and not better?
I don't see how that's a signifier that it's gotten worse.
Because what do you mean? It's not people who have necessary skills. It's literally just trash who are up there. The entertainment business is garbage compared to what it was.
Okay, I mean, I'm not talking about the quality of the art or the artist. I'm just talking about barriers of entry. You know, you had...
Okay, there were no black people in music, so yes, it was gonna be.
Now there were black people in music, but
I mean, not to that extent, though, not that much.
Well, you know,
now
you had Robert Johnson
ever
sitting on his porch in North Mississippi.
But what I'm saying is,
and
now
Howlin' Wolf in
there's
Chicago.
There's more mixtures of people getting famous because that's what today's age is. It's easier to get heard because we have all this technology.
Yeah.
But that's the bad part about it too, because everybody's so stuck in what's going on with the rest of the world. Nobody's paying attention to what's important. That's why today's world is not better than the world before. If our grandparents had the technology we had, then yeah, the world would be much better, because then they would have money and land to give down to the generation. You feel me? Because then they would have known, hey, don't stop at one house. Let me get 2 houses, because the fact that I got 1 house so easily and I can get another one, it's gonna set up for my future family or whatever. You see what I'm saying? It would have gave them more insight on life. But the people today who have the technology in their hands aren't using it for what it's meant for. They're using it for the distractions and the bullshit. That's why the billboards are all black trash, because they're giving Sexy Red and fucking Kodak Black and Young this, Young that bullshit. They're giving them record deals so that people hear trash and people want to look up to that trash. And they don't want to be nothing but the next trash. So rap music, why hasn't rap music gone anywhere? And rap music is only what? It's not much older than me and you.
50 years.
Exactly. It's not much older than me and you. It's barely the older generation of us. You feel me? Where has it gone in 50 years? Nowhere. It has gone downhill since it was created. You feel me?
So,
and you can say that 30 years ago.
Okay, so that,
because
right,
NWA and that whole era wasn't really doing much. That era was one of the worst eras in music.
So
ever.
You're from New York City.
People were dying.
Right.
Yes.
You're from the birthplace of hip hop.
Of hip hop. Yes.
Okay. So, this is kind of weird, but do you understand the origins of hip hop, like how hip hop was created?
I do.
It was created out of a necessity and a need for black musicians coming up to perform music in light of, okay, say let's think about the late 70s in New York City, right? Poor, impoverished, fucking buildings were burning down outside of Yankee Stadium as they won the fucking World Series. Like, there was a ton of poverty, right? Like, but let's go back 20 or 30 years to like a place like Detroit.
It's still happening.
Right.
There is.
So,
yes.
If you're a part of like Marvin Gaye's generation and you grew up in Detroit, in inner city, and you went to a public school, despite how poor the public school may have been, you still had access to a music class. So that's why you have all these great musicians that came out of Detroit. They grew up broke, poor, but they had access to music classes, and they learned and crafted and honed their
Yes,
skills in that.
but they also had something that inspired them to do that. What are
Right.
the rappers and the songs these
Okay,
days
but
inspiring people
so
to do?
let me
Have
continue to
unprotected sex.
let me
and
continue
kill
to paint the picture.
motherfuckers.
Okay, you're fast forwarding way in the future. Like
No,
I'm talking
how?
about I'm talking about the beginning of hip hop, late
Yes.
70s.
What? That's not the beginning of hip hop. The late No, it was not the late 70s. Let's get a pinpoint exactly of the beginning of hip hop.
Poor people in the Bronx in the 70s loved music, had a desire to create music, but if they went to a PS whatever it was, the federal government had cut out spending for the arts in public schools by this time. So those inner city kids, they didn't have access to the same musical teachings and instruments and all this shit that their previous generation had. So what do you do when you don't have the resources to learn how to play an instrument, to buy instruments, but you still have the desire to create music? What did they create music with? Their parents' record player?
No,
and their records.
With random stuff. They created music with literally pans, pots.
Yes. Right.
Cans,
Right.
anything they can find. Yes,
Sure.
black people did it with their mouths, with just clapping their hands.
Right. But dudes like Kool Herc, dudes like Red Alert, these guys, they innovated DJing, like
But yes,
by
I agree with that.
by using their father's funk records, isolating the break beats, isolating the snare, looping it, scratching, like
Okay, we're in agreement.
Right.
They created a skill.
well, but they
created
did
a
was
skill.
they repurposed old art to make music with, because they didn't have the resources to create music through instruments. Like that's where sampling comes from. That's where
Well,
chopping
they-
up break beats.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. They created something different. Not
course.
not necessarily because
Of
they
course.
didn't have resources. They wanted to be different. They didn't want to do the same thing because there were blues. Blues is way older than hip hop. Black people were doing blues music. Ray Charles was way older than, you feel me?
What does
Like
that have to do with-
black music, because you're saying they were using old records and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with recreating stuff. They wanted to do something new. That's where hip hop came from. They wanted to create something new, something a different sound.
Right.
It had nothing to do with resources.
Of course.
It was just
okay.
innovation.
Okay. All right.
You had it right the first time. It was innovation.
Okay.
They wanted to create
And
something
then
new.
nobody's arguing. Of course it's innovation. Of course it is.
I was agreeing with you.
To grab records and repurpose them and isolate a drum loop and of course that's innovation. Of course, but it happened out of necessity of having a desire to create music and not having resources or the environment to teach you how to play an instrument.
Vital signs 0.
Instruments wasn't the only. You keep talking about instruments. That wasn't the only way to play music back in the day. It had nothing to do with instruments. Most of those people never even tried to play an instrument in their lives.
Yes, because they didn't
wanted
have
to be a
access to it.
DJ. What?
They didn't.
Most people who did become a musician
Mm-hmm.
didn't have access to the instruments until they did.
Yes, right.
You understand that, right?
Right,
So that has nothing to do with that. If they wanted to play an instrument, they would have played the instrument when they got access to it. Like, you forget.
Are you a musician?
You forget.
Are
they
you a
still had to
musician?
pay. Wait,
I'm a
listen,
musician.
listen, because you're not. That doesn't mean anything.
It means
Listen to what
everything
you're saying.
because to
Hold
learn
on. Can I
how
say
to
this one
play an
point?
instrument.
Can I say this one point? That's not what I'm talking about. Listen first. Listen to this one point. You're saying they didn't have the resources to get stuff, but they still got the DJ equipment. They had to get the resources to buy
They
that
were
stuff.
using
If they wanted
their
to-
parents'
No, they weren't
record
all
players
doing
and
that.
records.
They were not all doing that. They weren't using
I'm
their
talking
parents.
about the fucking
my
when
gosh.
hip hop only existed in park parties where people brought their record players and brought their records and people came and danced and then eventually people started doing spoken word over the DJing and then that became hip hop. All these elements that were just kids having fun with music. Like it's to learn how to play a musical instrument, to learn frequencies and notes and modes and scales. This shit takes real fucking heart and real time and real effort. And it
every
takes
fucking thing in your life.
I'm sorry?
Everything takes that. Everything
right,
takes that.
right.
Every single thing that you do in life.
yes,
So I
yes,
get that
but
point.
there aren't many things more difficult than learning how to play a saxophone or learning how to play a violin.
See, you gotta stop making these empty facts. That's a vague thing. That's not true.
It's not a. I'm not stating it like it's a
That's-
fact. I'm
Well,
stating.
you said you literally said there's nothing.
You gotta calm down,
harder.
dude. You're fucking
I'm
trying to
not-
goddamn
nobody-
fucking
see,
attack
no-
me. Everything I
nobody's-
fucking
oh my
say.
God.
Just
Man,
calm
I'm
down.
just-
You won't even let me get a word in
I'm
edgewise, dude.
mad at you.
I'm a fucking
I'm
musician.
mad at you.
Okay?
Listen to
I
me.
know what it means to learn a fucking instrument, to learn how to read fucking sheet music, to learn the 12 fucking notes, to learn chords, to learn modes. That shit is fucking difficult.
Shut the fuck up.
And it doesn't not every fucking body can do it. Don't tell me to shut the fuck up! Fuck you, motherfucker! Who the fuck do you think you fucking are?
Fuck up.
To tell me to shut the fuck up! Fuck you!
We're fucking done.
Who the fuck are you talking to, nigga?
Like, shut the fuck up.
If you want me to listen to your point, which I am well fucking willing to do, don't fucking talk to me like that. Talk to me like somebody that you, motherfucker, who the fuck do you think you are? To tell me to shut the fuck up when I'm engaging in a conversation with you. It's not a dialogue. It's a conversation. It's not a monologue where Donte gets to drone on for 2 hours straight uninterrupted. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna offer my insight. I'm gonna go off what you're saying. That's a conversation. And that's a crime to you. I should shut the fuck up because of that, right? Because I'm engaged in a conversation with you. A passionate, fucking nuanced, complicated conversation about interesting things that I'm having fun having with you. But you can't scream at me, shut the fuck up, because you have a point that goes on for forever and you feel like you have the right to sit there uninterrupted without me engaging with it. That's not fucking right. You cannot fucking expect me to fucking sit here and be silent and not fucking contribute and not fucking go along with this conversation. It's not a monologue. This is not the Donte show. It's not. You're a guest. I've given you carte blanche to express anything that you want. I've given you ample time to express any point of view, as nuanced, as complicated as it may be. I've listened and I've engaged with those ideas. And how dare you scream at me, shut the fuck up, when I got something to fucking say and something to contribute to this dual conversation between two people. It's not a monologue. I would not drone on for fucking hours and expect you to just sit there silently and keep your fucking opinions to yourself. I would not expect that of you. You give me the same goddamn respect. That's all. Give me the same respect that I give you. I listen to you. I bounce off what you say. I don't for a fucking second think in my head, oh, I wish he would shut the fuck up so I could talk. But that's what you think of me. It ain't right. It ain't fucking right to treat me like that. I don't treat you like that. I don't disrespect you like that. I understand you think you got something more important to say than what I got to say. That's fine. And I'll sit and listen to it every time and engage with it every time. But I will not shut you down. I will not fucking tell you to shut the fuck up. Ever. I got way more respect for you than that shit. But you don't have any fucking respect for me.
You are no longer in a group.
Shut the fuck up. Because I got a fucking opinion about something that you're talking about, that you're thinking about, that you're engaging in this conversation about. And I'm supposed to shut the fuck up because whatever you think you have to say is more right than me, or smarter than me, or whatever than me. I didn't think this was a competition. I didn't think this was a war of words. I thought this was two intellectual black men engaging in interesting conversations about fucking complicated issues and complicated things. These are just opinions. If I say something that comes off like I'm stating it as a fact, that's only because of the amount of passion and fucking conviction I have for whatever it is I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's fact. I'm serving it up, telling you that this is my opinion. This is my singular point of view. That is no way in reflection of the universal point of view, and is not fact. It's not mathematics. It's not the gospel. It's not anything that should be looked at as fact. This is my passionate, informed, convicted point of view on the issue. And I'm sorry it comes off like I'm saying it is fact. That's not what I'm meaning to do at all. At all. That's arrogant. That's fucked up. It's conceited in a way that I'm not conceited. I'm not conceited. You're a smart man. You're probably way smarter than I am. I like listening to your points of view. I like having these conversations with you. I don't know where we get to the point where you're yelling at me, shut the fuck up. Because you think whatever you have to say is so much more important. How do we get there? How? How does that respect just ooze out the window? It's ridiculous. And so, in summation, that it mirrored in some respects the conversation that we had earlier. Listen, I love Donte to death. I think he's effing great when he comes on these streams. I love debating with him about things. I love disagreeing with him about things and engaging in a dual conversation about those things. I respect this man. I like this man. I like having these conversations with this person. But this is the second time in a row that it's gotten to the point of screaming, shut the fuck up. Like, dude.
Friendly control point detected.
It's not some sort of like warlike debate that we're having. We're trying to co-engage in nuanced, interesting conversations. And it only works when both of us are, if there's three of us, four of us, or whatever the case may be, is equally engaged in the conversation. It falls apart once either party starts bloviating and boasting like their opinion is of such quality, of such quantity, of philosophic vigor, and so intellectual, and so this and that. Like, dude, we're discussing the origins of hip-hop. This is not science. This is not mathematics. We're not arguing over what the square root of something is. We're not arguing over history. Well, it is history, but you have your interpretation and I have mine. The only thing that we know, because we weren't alive back then, the only thing that we know is things that have been handed down to us by our elders. Again, like playing that game telephone. It's the same thing. This is the only reason that we know these things. So my opinion and point of view is going to be peppered with the points of view and the manner in which these stories were handed down to me by my elders. But that doesn't mean that one of us is right and one of us is wrong. It just doesn't mean that. At all. At all. It doesn't mean that. It does not.
You have been promoted to group leader.
This stuff is open to interpretation, and it's heavily colored by our points of view, which is by nature diametrically opposed to a situation where we're talking about facts. He was seemingly turned off by me stating that one of the hardest things to do is to learn how to play the saxophone or learn how to play the violin. Well, yeah, that's true. It's very difficult to learn those instruments, including the piano. It takes an understanding of music theory. Music theory is one of the most complicated things. I mean, there are professional musicians who, yes, they can play power chords, they can play chords, they can probably maybe even solo on a guitar. They can write a song, they can read tablature, but they do not know anything about modes, about scales, about frequencies, about low pass filters, all the things that go into audio engineering, all that knowledge, that like there is so much information when you are learning about music. Like there is it's endless. It's endless. It's endless, and you can learn new stuff all your life. I saw an interview with Miles Davis. He was like 80. And the interviewer asked him, when was the last time you learned something new? He said, I learned something new last night. At 80 years old, the virtuoso of the trumpet, Miles Davis, says that he learned something new in music at the age of 80. It's that curiosity. Like, I would never ever placate or boast or brag about the nature of my intellect, the abundance of information that I might know, and yada yada yada. Like, I am not that conceited. And my brain doesn't work that way, frankly, because I want to always continue to learn new things. I don't want to ever delude myself and think that, oh, I'm so smart, or I possess such an intellect to where I can just completely stop learning now. I know it all. That is the worst place for a human being to place themselves in. There's always opportunities to learn something new. I don't care who it is you're talking to. Every single person that you encounter, you have an opportunity to learn something from each individual. Each individual has a specialized, idealized, one point of view, singular to themselves, that possesses some sort of intellect or expertise about a particular topic, a particular skill, a particular method on how to do something. Each individual person has something to offer to the sea of knowledge. That's why the sea of knowledge is as vast as it is.
Hope this weather doesn't get too bad on me.
Because we share ideas. You share ideas, despite if you disagree or agree, you listen to other points of view. Because if you don't listen to other points of view, you become extraordinarily and disgustingly married to your own point of view that you now believe is the word of God.
Supply convoy in proximity.
You are so arrogant. And I mean you, I mean the royal you. I don't mean Donte. I mean anybody out there that has it in their head that their intellect is of such quality that they have reached the point where you can't tell them shit. They're not going to entertain anything from anybody else because God has spoken to them and given them this abundance of knowledge and intellect that no man shall ever challenge. You can't operate like that. Not if you want to be a lifelong student. That's what I want to be. I don't ever want to assume that my knowledge about anything has bottomed out or topped out. Because it can never. It can never top out. You can reach a sort of intellectual point or an intellectual sort of mood in where you have bought into the abundance of your intellect and the amount of information that you've brought into your brain, and boast and act like it starts and ends there. It doesn't. We're all incredibly dumb. We're way dumber than we believe ourselves to be. Way dumber. I was talking about one point of view about the history of hip hop. One man's point of view based on things that he's read and things that have been told and handed down to him by his elders. One, that's it. I wouldn't ever condescend to say that that's the only point of view. It's not. It's not. Just like I wouldn't condescend to say that somebody's wrong. Like he kept trying to convince me that I was wrong. It's not about right and wrong. This is about interpretation, in which we had two completely different, diametrically opposed points of view about one particular thing and how it started. As if there's only one way that it could have started. There's only one way, there's only one person, there's only one place, there's only one song, there's only one, singular. When we're talking about something as vast and as nuanced and as huge and as eclectic as hip hop, 50 years of hip hop, of innovation, like you said, yes, it was innovation. Just like jazz musicians 20 years prior, they were honing their chops by playing other people's songs. They called them jazz standards. And so, yes, John Coltrane did my favorite things. Miles Davis did my favorite things. Dizzy Gillespie did my favorite things. This musician, that musician, all did their own interpretation of my favorite things. Not because they're copying each other, because they're inspired by each other and they're sharing ideas musically amongst themselves through song, through composition. Through composition, they are communicating musical ideas with each other. Hip hop started in a similar way. They take break beats from a James Brown record. They isolate the snare. They isolate James's voice. They scratch where they find where James just goes, "How!" and scratch right there and come up with a new tone. They rearrange the drum samples. They isolate the hook and just use the hook and wrap up. Dude, this, in my opinion, in my point of view, based on things that I've read and things that have been told to me by my elders, this discipline of playing records, playing old funk records, playing old jazz records, isolating the snare, isolating the drum break, adjusting the pitch on a vocal sample from a James Brown record, from a Curtis Mayfield record, from a Blackbirds record, hell, from a Stephanie Mills record. That shit, in some part, came out of a necessity to produce and compose music, coupled with the fact that they didn't have access to music classes. They didn't have a teacher teaching them every good boy deserves fudge. They didn't have a teacher teaching them that there's 12 notes that go on for an eternity. They didn't have that. So they didn't have an opportunity to learn how to play a guitar, to learn how to play the drums. But they could go get their father's record player, go get his old records, put on a James Brown record, isolate the Clyde Stubblefield drum break, and bring something new into the field of music, the field of art, based on found sounds from stuff that had already been written, produced, and performed by musicians 20 years ago. And has suddenly gotten new life breathed into it because a guy named Kool Mo D is rapping over the sample. Because Kool Herc is scratching the sample at a party in a park or in a basement at some party somewhere. He's spinning old hard bop records and funk records and soul records and changing them up, bringing something new musical ideas, just like the jazz musicians 20 or 30 years past from then were all doing my favorite things. We're all doing The Girl from Ipanema. And all putting a different twist on it. If you hand 50 people acoustic guitars and you all collect them and get them to stand in like a field somewhere, and one by one you go to them and you say, you strum a D strum, you strum a D chord, you strum a D chord, you strum a D chord, you're going to hear 50 different variations of how a D chord can sound. Because that's what sets musicians apart. It's a point of view. Everybody has the same collection of infinite notes and chords that they have at their disposal, but not everybody has an ability to play them with a unique point of view that sets them apart from every other person who dares to strum a D minor. D minor doesn't sound the same in the hands of somebody like Nick Drake as it does as Neil Young. It's different points of view. It's not right or wrong. It's just my point of view and your point of view, which can beautifully commingle and coexist to create some sort of synergy, some sort of collaboration, and maybe arrive at different understandings of things that you presupposed and you have decided that your point of view is where it begins and where it ends on this particular subject. To challenge your own point of view. I'm willing to do that anytime. I don't ever for a second believe that anything I have to say is the gospel, or is divine, or is the source of divinity, or science, or hard-nosed fact. It's compassionate, it's convicted points of view and opinion. That's all. And so Donte's actually texting me mean stuff. I didn't disrespect him once. Having difference of opinion is not at all the problem. You yelling shut the fuck up at me because you don't like what I'm saying is the problem. I listen to you and I'm always willing to listen to your point of view. What I'm not willing to do is be disrespected by you and have you screaming over me because you think whatever you have to say is more important. It's a dialogue. It's a conversation. Like, it's not about, he's stuck on this idea that it's about, I can't handle somebody that disagrees with me. No, I can't handle you fucking spurging out and screaming shut the fuck up because whatever, you're spazzing out because you disagree. You can't amicably engage in a conversation that isn't completely tied to your own singular point of view and doesn't completely agree with all your little bullet points and Donte's words of truth and wisdom. You're obviously afraid of others' points of view. That's the only reason you would sit there and spurg out and scream shut the fuck up. That's the only reason. You're trying to shut somebody down because you know that they're not going in the intellectual direction that you want them to go into. You don't need me to solidify your points of view. You don't need me to buy into your points of view to give them leverage, to give you more like give them more importance or give you more confidence in them. You don't need me for that. That's something you should be doing on your own. You should be judging your own point of view and the validity of those ideas and how strong are those ideas in the marketplace of ideas. You don't need me to validate yours. It shouldn't matter if I validate, like, really, this is a central problem with politics in America. You have an environment in where partisanship rules the day. Towing the party line is the standard operating procedure. If I'm a Republican, I'm listening to Fox News because I don't ever for a second want to watch news that challenges my point of view. And if I'm liberal, I'm watching CNN and I'm doing it for the exact same reason. Because I can't for a second be burdened by listening to someone discuss an issue in where their point of view doesn't completely 120% identify as mine, with mine. It sounds like if you are operating with that desire, I don't think that you have that much confidence in your own point of view. Because if you did, you wouldn't be threatened by other points of view that didn't completely mirror your own. You would be able to listen and take those points of view and compare them to your own and even maybe merge them with your own. And that would further inform your own point of view. The majority of the stuff that you know, that you've learned in life, has came from other people and other people's interpretation of that particular information. That's what you do. Even if you know someone's wrong about something, there's still something that can be learned. This is how ideas are shared. This is how this is how people's points of view and the quality of their knowledge of topics is expanded through taking in other people's ideas. And at the end of the day, no matter where you get the information from, who you get it from, how many people you gather it from, it's still your responsibility to take it all and formulate your own singular point of view that is comprised of the residue and is the direct result of you consuming ideas and different types of knowledge about these different types of topics.
There are other ways to harness wind. Yeah? Enlighten me. We use a balloon.
It's what makes your point of view versatile and nuanced and not so hard-nosed, not so matter of fact. Two things can be right at the same time. 5 things can be right. 20 things can be right. Different interpretations, different sources of knowledge, different sources of the same material, slightly different interpretations, slightly different ways of relaying that same information. Things changed and pricked and plucked here and there to fit a singular person's style of delivery. The way in which they offer up their points of view. Nobody was right or wrong in that conversation. Both of us had something substantive to offer. The whole time. And I didn't think the goal of discussing topics in a free form sort of way like this was that we both leave the stream at the end having conceded and having adopted each other's point of view, and now that's gonna be our truth. I didn't think that was the goal. I guess I was confused. Like it's not some hard-nosed Cambridge University type debate. Like it's the free form exchange of ideas and of opinions. We're chopping it up, sharing game. And when you do that, you find that there's things that, hey, I didn't know that, you know that. That's awesome. I know that now. I've gained new knowledge, new information that I did not possess because I was willing to sit and listen to another's point of view. Well, thank you so much for joining the Age of Distraction. This was a fun-filled conversation and episode, let me tell you. Never a dull moment. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.